Hello there folks, it is TIJ Gaming and welcome back to the Formula 1 2014 Ferrari Career Mode, and today it is time for race number 14, the Singapore Grand Prix, the 2014 Formula 1 Singapore Airlines Singapore Grand Prix. Now, I'm not particularly keen on Singapore, but that you could say I'm not particularly keen on Monaco, and we actually managed to take the win at Monaco. But Singapore is a highly technical circuit. It's very humid and hot, obviously. It's exceptionally tough on both car and driver. It requires a car set up for very high downforce in order to cope with its many corners, and has the knock-on effect of making the circuit hard on a driver's brakes. Now, last time out we won the Italian Grand Prix, and we're pulling away now from Fernando Alonso in the championship because he did retire from the two races that preceded that in Belgium and in Hungary. So if you look at the Drivers' Championship, we are fairly clear of Vettel, Ricciardo and Alonso, because we won the last race, and Vettel, Ricciardo and Alonso didn't really do too much. I mean, Alonso did manage to finish in fourth, but due to the poor performances in the two races prior, we have pulled away for third of the championship, and we're only 7 points now behind our rival Nico Rosberg. We're at the top. Lewis Hamilton is leading Rosberg by 78 points. There's 150 available, so if Hamilton wins 3 of the next 6 races, he has won the championship. Actually, it's the 6 races, so there's actually 175 points available, aren't there? Of course there are, because of that double points in Abu Dhabi. That keeps knocking me off, but again, whatever points permutations there are, you have to say that Mercedes have won the constructors, obviously, and that Hamilton will pretty much win the drivers. But we're 2 points ahead of Red Bull in the constructors, so every race is massively important to get maximum points possible to try and beat our contemporaries in that championship. And I suppose we keep doing well. We have got a chance of beating our rival Nico Rosberg to finish second in the championship, which would be very, very special. But let's see what happens today. It's time for the 2014 Singapore Grand Prix. So let's see how competitive our first lap is then in Q1. A 46.2 has just been set by Nico Rosberg, which is absolutely mighty. But we're okay. We're P9 at the moment. Again, it's our first lap. We improve a lot between our first lap and the last lap in Q3, obviously, should we get there. But we should be fine with that lap. We've got 3 laps worth of fuel, though, so it's worth trying to set the laps. But I've just completely forgotten how tricky this circuit is. It's such a tricky prospect. I think even harder than Monaco, because there are so many walls close here. Yes, Monaco, if you make one mistake, you could be out. But Singapore, it's just really tough. It is. It's a really tough circuit. It requires a lot of focus. And obviously, it's a longer lap as well. So, a lot harder technically to get through that whole lap without making a mistake. But a very good sector 1 there. Nearly 4 tenths up on our previous. So, as you can see visibly already, our statement we made at the start of this little clip is absolutely right. A very mixed up pack in Q1 actually. Mercedes driver Nico Rosberg takes the lead of the session by nearly 8 tenths to his German compatriot, also named Nico, but the last name Hulkenberg. Bottas third, ourselves in 4th, solid lap there. Jensen Button only 12th, but Hamilton only 12th. But it's Gutierrez and Maldonado, the two that fall out of the session. Russia and Caterham way off the pace, but a good drive from Bianchi there to put it in 19th. But Maldonado and Gutierrez just about out. There wasn't much between Gutierrez and his teammate Suttle, certainly, but good pace from us from the start. It's quite encouraging. Perez on the options, so not a great lap for him, to be quite honest. And you'd expect probably the 2 Toro Rossos, the Lotus and the Sauber. And, well, it could be any of the next 2. I don't quite know who it will be. I suppose it probably looks like it could well be the 2 Force Indias. But looking at Hulkenberg's pace, that is mighty impressive. So perhaps expect Perez and Massa to maybe be the 2 to join them out of Q2. This first lap in Q2 looks very promising. Purple in the first 2 sectors. And actually, for the first time, I think, ever, I'm actually quite enjoying driving this Singapore circuit. It's a good challenge. It can be nice and aggressive in this Ferrari. And yeah, for the first time, it's actually nice to drive around Singapore. So, I don't know what's changed. A 44.5 there from Rosberg. That's absolutely nice. Just shows that, I mean, we were 3 tenths clear of anybody else. But Rosberg, the clear pace setter this weekend, wants to get back into the championship battle clearly with Lewis. I think it's a little bit too little too late. But we saw that Hamilton was the pace setter in Monza. And speak of the devil, he's actually set a very good lap to go top of the pile. But Hamilton didn't take pole in Monza, even though he was the pace setter all throughout the weekend. So it's going to be interesting, but we seem to be on a fair, I mean, you can't exactly say even footing, can you? But we're not doing too bad compared to the Mercedes, but it seems that we're quite comfortably ahead of everybody else in third, so that's nice to see. Well, what a turn up for the book this is. McLaren's 4th and 5th. I mean, Alonso only 8th. Vettel just about gets through. But Daniel Ricciardo, no pace at all. Goodness knows what happened to him. Both him and Hulkenberg drop out at the session. Vettel only just gets through, and Subtle, Verne, Grosjean and Kvyat join them. But brilliant effort from both of the McLaren drivers, particularly Magnussen, to be mixing it with us. That's mighty impressive. It seems Mercedes are in a world of their own, to be quite honest, this weekend. But with Daniel Ricciardo being out at the Q2 stage, that's pretty much fifth confirmed for the race, you would say. Well, this is going to get interesting. I think that Alonso and Vettel are going to be a lot quicker in the next session. But good place from McLaren too. This should get interesting. But again, the main vocal point is that Mercedes are a hell of a lot quicker than anybody else. It would be nice to get into the 44s this session. I don't know how good Vettel and Alonso are going to be, who are a real two challengers for that second row spot. The Mercedes are going to be in that front row. I don't think anybody can influence that particularly, but I think third place would be a very good place to start for this Singapore Grand Prix, particularly knowing that we can exploit the AI's poor starts, potentially get into the lead if we start in third. Any lower on, I'm not particularly sure whether we can get into the lead, but I think Mercedes have got the first row sorted, but let's see what Alonso and Vettel can offer, and equally, let's see what we can offer on this first run in Q3. We're going to do 3 laps. We've got 3 laps worth of fuel, and then at the end of the session, new set of tyres and a 1 lap run. So let's see how we get on. I said we should worry about Vettel and Alonso. Vettel's just set a 1:44.8, so we need to be in the 44s to be challenging for that second row. Hamilton with a 44.4, so Sebastian Vettel looks to be fairly competitive with the Mercedes cars. What's our first effort going to be across the line? It's going to be, just about a 44. Excellent time. But we're just below Sebastian Vettel at the moment. Rosberg is P5 at the moment, so I think he's got a lot more to offer. But this looks good at the start of the session. I was expecting Hamilton to be pretty good, as well as Rosberg. And I was expecting a good effort from Vettel and Alonso. So just got to fine-tune our lap. There was a few areas in that last lap where maybe we lost a tenth or two. And hopefully we can get back ahead of Vettel. But good to see that we're having a good battle now for third with the grid with the two drivers that we are competitive against, Sebastian Vettel and Fernando Alonso. That's a great result. As we said, we've got a little bit of time to gain, and we gained a tenth and a half, 17 hundredths of a second, and that's put us on the front row for the moment. Nico Rosberg has finished his first run, so has everybody else, and Rosberg is only fifth at the moment, so a lot of time for him to make up. Quite surprising considering he was very good early on in the session. But we've got time for another lap, and hopefully we'll be able to come back into the pits after that and do 1 lap. But we could well be competitive for pole here. I'm going to jack this lap in now because we're a little bit behind. But yeah, we've certainly got a chance at pole, which I don't think we had before. But we are a little bit off Hamilton. We're just 3.5 tenths off. Our personal best in that first sector is quite a way off, though. You have to say that Mercedes power is no doubt helping those guys. I mean, Bottas is going to take the third row, which is going to be impressive for Williams. Our Sector 2 is pretty good. Sector 3 is pretty good as well. So it's clear that we're losing all that time in the first sector. So that's going to be the important area on the last lap. It seems everybody else is going out. And we'll leave it a little while just so we can have the track in optimum conditions. But let's see how far up the grid we can get. I think we need to watch out for Nico Rosberg in particular. We've made a slight improvement in Sector 1, 300ths of a second. I mean, I don't think our Sector 2 time's going to be there. It's actually 2.5 tenths off, so looks like our chances at pole have gone and certainly hitting the wall there. Laps in concentration. I'd say they're definitely gone now. But unless Nico Rosberg gets a sufficient lap time, it's going to only be the third row for Rosberg. An absolute disaster at the start. But what a brilliant performance from us to get onto the first row, it looks like. Vettel third, Alonso fourth. I mean, Ricciardo will be kicking himself because Rosberg has had such a poor session, at least as it stands, and he could have at least got 5th place. And you don't usually tend to beat the Mercedes. It looks like we're not going to improve on our lap time, though, and Hamilton's going to take pole. But a first row for us, that is very, very solid. Yes, it is. Rosberg can't even get within a second of his teammates. Not exactly sure what happened there. Valtteri Bottas 6th, Massa 7th, Magnussen 8th, Perez 9th, and Jensen Button rounding out the top 10. But this should be an interesting race, going from one of the shortest races of the season at Monza to one of the longest races here. So endurance is going to be the key term of the day. But let's see how we get on at the start. This is definitely a good opportunity to take P1 into the first corner. I think it has to be said, the two best drivers of the season so far on the front row. Should be a good battle today against Hamilton. And our rival Nico Rosberg is down in 5th. But Alonso starts 4th, Vettel 3rd. This should get very interesting going into turn 1. Our objective is to finish first. So the team expecting for the first time this year for us to win back-to-back races. The 5 lights are on above the drivers and it's lights out. And away we go for the Singapore Grand Prix. Just lining ourselves up behind Lewis Hamilton into the first corner. And Hamilton just going way offline as per usual. and we've took first place. The AI starts on this game are really atrocious, it has to be said, but if we qualify well, we know we can take advantage of that. Goodness knows where Hamilton was going at the start. What a great start that was from us into first place. Hamilton second. Rosberg's had a good start into third. Alonso seems to have retained his position in P4, and Sebastian Vettel has dropped back to at least P5. So now we are in the lead. We might as well not use so much fuel. But we've got 15 laps. I mean, it was only 13 around Monza, just to give yourselves a comparison. Of course, Monza, maybe 30 seconds a lap quicker, so a lot quicker of a race around Monza. But this is definitely a good start for us. We've pulled away from Hamilton and Rosberg, and again, this should be a brilliant chance to take some solid points home today, even if we do get beaten in the pit stops. This should be another fantastic race, certainly if it stays like this, to bolster our constructors' status. I mean, it'd be 40 points for us here. I mean, Alonso with the fastest laps are getting really competitive, and actually, we could be the best team on race pace, it seems. Rosberg has lost a lot of time to us behind. Hamilton's right on our back. As you can see, Rosberg is quite a way back from Fernando Alonso in third. But if we can take maximum points here, what a result that would be for our constructors' battle. Of course, Daniel Ricciardo started outside the top 10. I believe he is still outside the top 10, and Vettel's in 5th. So that's 40 points compared to 10 for Red Bull. I mean, we've had some poor races. Hungary and Belgium come to mind, certainly for the team. But we're on a real comeback now in the constructors' battle. We have a little bit of a train behind us now. It's not a truly train, it's a Toby train. That sounds a little bit weird, but we've got P1 to P5 all in a train here. We're going to stop at the end of this lap, and the worry is that we might well lose this position on the pit stops. You don't know. We'll have to see what happens, because obviously we know Alonso's going to go for the overcut. One of the Mercedes cars will. Vettel might pit on this lap. And obviously Ricciardo's not in the running here. So let's see what happens in the pit stops. We can obviously defend quite easily from these guys in normal running, but the pit stops is the prime chance for these guys to get past. So Hamilton pits, and Rosberg is the man that stays out. Vettel also pits. Let's hope we don't get held up in this pit stop. It's going to be the main point of this race, but only 3 pit crews out at the moment, so we shouldn't have that risk. And we're out safely. So that's risk number 1 averted. Risk number 2 is the overcut from Fernando Alonso and Nico Rosberg. Rosberg's actually got back ahead of Fernando Alonso, quite fascinatingly. Is that a word, fascinatingly? Not exactly sure, but Daniel Ricciardo is just ahead of us. That just shows how far he's back on the rest of the field, doesn't it? I remember that when I did this in F1 2012, thankfully the pit assist's on, because I remember in F1 2012, it just turned off all of a sudden, and we got a drive-through penalty for crossing the pit exit line. Quite a tough one to keep control of there, but thankfully we had pit assist on to sort that out. So we know that we've stayed ahead of 2 of the drivers in the train. We're going to get the rich fuel mix on. We've been saving a little bit of fuel for this point. So let's see what happens at the end of the lap when those 2 guys come in. Last 2 corners then of lap 7. We've been pushing fairly hard. We've kept Hamilton at bay. So let's see if Fernando and Nico can do anything about changing the lead. Coming into the last corner, looks like Nico and Rosberg are on their way out of the pits, but I think we should be safe in P1. Rosberg out ahead of Alonso, which is a little bit of a shame, but let's see if there are any changes in the running order. Hamilton and Rosberg very close, but Rosberg is out just behind Lewis Hamilton. I think the big loser in all of this is Alonso. Of course, Fernando was in P3, but Rosberg and Vettel have effectively taken over his position. But the good news at the moment is we've got a little bit of respite from the guys behind. We've got that rich fuel mix, so we might as well use that now. And then if we have to defend at the later stage. I think I was trying to combine defend and stages there. Very bizarre. Anyway, we've got a gap of 1.2 seconds to Lewis Hamilton, so we've just got to drive this out, and we could well have, for the first time this year, back-to-back wins. This has been a very dull race from my point of view, but simply just driving it out. You know, we've been able to defend from the guys behind. Sebastian Vettel now moved into second, Rosberg third, and actually Lewis Hamilton is probably going to have his worst finish of the season, looks like, in 5th. He was in second at one time, so he's fell down the tree. Vettel in second, though, great result for him. Rosberg third, Alonso 4th. So 37 points on the line for Ferrari here. Let's just have a quick look at where Ricciardo is, just about in the points at 9th. That is quite incredible. So what's that for Red Bull? 20? Yeah, 20 points compared to 37 for us. So a nice bunch of 37 points, which will give us a 17-point lead in the constructors from this race to them. So that's absolutely solid. And of course, that means that we gain points on every driver, including our rival Nico Rosberg. So for the first time this season, providing we come across the line and win, will be ahead of Nico Rosberg in the championship. We will be in second place, which is a mighty achievement. But after the summer break, we've come back with a second in Belgium. We won the Italian Grand Prix, and as it stands, we're going to take home the money again with a first place here, a win at Singapore. We've got Japan up next, which I don't really fancy myself at, but I didn't really fancy myself here. But Japan is very much a weak track of mine. For the first time, I think, ever around Singapore, I've actually enjoyed driving around it. A longer race than Monza, so endurance was very much the case today, but we've done well. We've done very well. Fernando Alonso is 4th, Lewis in 5th. I think that is Magnussen in 6th. Jenson Button, his teammate, has actually retired from the race, so a shame for McLaren, who had some serious pace. Actually catching up to one of the back markers, not going to do that by the end of the race. But it's just one of the flaws of F1 2014, unfortunately, that once you get ahead, you know, the other guys struggle to get ahead of you. But really, that's a flaw of the game we can exploit, and there's not a fat lot I can do about it. So, coming through the last few corners, it's been a very good performance from us, so I don't think that downplays our performance at all. For the first time this season, though, it's not just going to be the odd win here and there. We're starting to get some real serious form now. 68 points this will be from the last 3 races, just missing out on that win in Belgium. But coming around the last corner, we win the Singapore Grand Prix. Excellent results. Our teammate in 4th, our rival in 3rd. Supposedly the biggest shock, I mean 2 big shocks, that Vettel finished 2nd and that Lewis Hamilton only managed to finish 5th. I mean, Ricciardo only made it up to 9th. That's a shock. Really is. And in the championship, as you can see, we are now into 2nd. The team engineer is going absolutely mad, I can hear in the earphones. But it's a 2-horse race, really, now. You have to say, for 2nd place in the championship, Hamilton's gone. There's no way, unless it's a disastrous end of the season for Lewis, that we could possibly win the championship. But 2nd place looks very good. And equally, 2nd place in the Constructors, too. We are now 19 points clear of Ferrari in the of Red Bull, in the Constructors, and we've got a real chance now to cement our position going into the next few races. But a fantastic win there. That takes our winning total up to 5 for the season. Quite unbelievable. 2 of those in the last 2 races. We also won, of course, Austria, Monaco, and in Germany. And this second half of the season is off to an absolutely fantastic start. Congratulated this time by Sebastian Vettel, who gets a very good podium for Red Bull, to be fair. He's been a little bit out of it this season, but a solid podium for Sebastian Vettel and a good 25 points for us. As you can see, 2 in a row for Toby Jones. Excellent stuff for us. And next time out, as I alluded to earlier, we are going to be going to the Japanese Grand Prix. So let's have a quick look at the emails before we call it a day today. All dry. We've broken the world record. What's for that? Wow. Most wins in a rookie season. I think, if I'm right, that Lewis Hamilton and Jacques Villeneuve are level on that for 4 seasons. That's mightily impressive. 5 rookie wins. That's a record. Fantastic achievement. Absolutely fantastic stuff. And in the teammate challenge, we now lead by 3 to 2. I mean, out-qualified and fastest laps we're certainly getting into, but out-raced, we are beating Fernando by an absolute mile. Of course, we are in the championship battle as well. So we are outperforming our teammate consistently now. Mightily impressive. We'll be back in the next few days with the Japanese Grand Prix. Make sure to leave a like if you enjoyed that. Subscribe to the channel as well for regular Formula 1 content. But apart from that, make sure you continue to stay safe and take care during these tricky times in the world. And hopefully this video has brought you just a little bit of joy in your day. Thank you very much for watching, but that is it from me. So until the next time, I will see you guys later on. Goodbye for now.